Greetings. I'd like to thank you for coming this evening, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you remotely. I'm not used to speaking in this fashion, but I'll do the best I can. What I'd like to do is talk a few moments about the NRG project and the reason I'm sitting here today and what it meant to me, and I think we'll be able to draw some conclusions and maybe move the county a little bit forward with some forward thinking on how it affected us all. And I got some dates I'd like to discuss. First, July 12th, 2012 was the day that Senator Young and the newly formed group Power Up Western New York met at the Dunkirk Pier for the first time for a press conference at the time to kind of start the whole process in motion for NRG's proposed shutdown and how the community was going to react to that. So I thought to myself, being a friend of the senator, I thought I should attend, and being the representative from the IBEW, power generation is part of what we do. So I went up there and attended, and after Mayor Doltz and Mayor Keefe and then County Executive Greg Edwards and the senator, of course, spoke, I thought maybe I should be involved in this. And I asked the senator how come I wasn't on the Power Up Western New York, being a representative from the building trades and so forth. And she said, well, you're not? She was surprised. So I said, no. And so she asked me at the time, well, we got to get you on that group. So fast forwarding, we started doing a lot of phone conversations. I'm in the group now, and we did some conference calls, and we started coming up with an agenda and the plan, knowing all along that nobody thought we'd be able to achieve what in the end we did accomplish. Fast forward to a year later, July 15th, 2013, after many meetings and many brainstorming activities involved by several organizations, county government, state government, businesses like the Chamber of Commerce represents, things like that, and all of us talking together on a conference call, always emceed by our senator, we were able to come up with this, well, we're going to have a PSC hearing, and how are we going to get people to that? And thanks to the work of our legislative people and of course the senator, she was able to bring that PSC hearing to Fredonia, which to me was the first step in being able to achieve the outcome we desired. When we were setting up that hearing that day, because she had got it at Fredonia, the college that of course participated, and all these people everything started to take mold. We were talking about, can we get 500 people there? And that was the goal. Let's get 500 people in the building. And I spoke to her that day, and she said, can we get 500? I said, I think we'll get 500. And as we got up there and the crowd started to build and the excitement started to gather, and we ended up with 2,500 people, which is the most ever in New York State history, which is a huge accomplishment. And we had 80 speakers, all four, and we had the state troopers there because they were afraid of protests, and we had only 2 or 3 people speak out against the program. And I stayed until the very end, after 80 speakers, and watched everybody talk, listened to everybody's words, and it was compelling to watch the movement from different walks of life, ordinary people, businesses, how everybody was going to be affected by this big plant shutdown. And I would say the most compelling came from NYSET, as they made a public demonstration along with a statement of my friend Nancy Baker, when she brought 31 teachers up to the microphone with her, made her statement on how it was going to affect our education system, and said, this is what it looks like when 31 people lose their jobs, and they all walked out of the room. That's compelling. That's a plan. That's a good thing for us. So after the whole thing was done, 2,500 people in the room, fast forward to December 7th, 2013. After all the things that were accomplished, we had another meeting a couple days before this actual December 7th date, and we had a brainstorming activity up at the incubator in Fredonia. So there's another participant that we forget about, and we talked about what was our plan now. What should we do? Because according to what we're hearing, the plant's DOA. They're not gonna, the PSC is gonna not approve the project. So we started talking, and the plan was that we all came up with, several people sitting around the room, a lot of the same players in the game, labor councils, things like that. We're going to go have another rally. It's going to be at the Dunkirk Pier, and we're going to schedule buses to go to Governor Cuomo's front door, and we're going to publicly call the New York State governor out. We're going to call him to his attention and say, we want this done. So we thought, well, can we get people to the pier? The goal was, again, a couple hundred. You know, you can make it look better than it was. But again, we exceeded those numbers. 500 to 700 was the official count. We don't really know. So we all spoke, including myself. I ended the talk with a chant calling the governor, repower NRG now. We want it done. And we all went home feeling pretty good about that, and we still have these buses scheduled. So during that week, all kinds of weird stuff starts happening, especially in my life. I get calls from the governor's office, the senator's office, and remember, I'm just a common individual that lives in Stockton in the woods. I'm just an ordinary person like everybody else here that did this extraordinary accomplishment. So I'm getting all these calls, and by the next Saturday, I'm getting calls on, Friday night that we might have a deal, and the senator's talking to me, and you can't say nothing, and all I'm doing right now is trying to get my driveway plowed because it's snowing like crazy. And she says the governor's coming out on Sunday morning to make an announcement. Of course, I knew what it was, and it was the $150 million build, but nobody could say nothing. So I get up there on Sunday morning, and I guess I'm going to be on the stage, which is another, thing I never believed I would be. Sitting next to the governor, but the senator and the assemblyman and Chamber of Commerce leaders all at the same time is not something I expected to see happen for me. So we're sitting up there, and we know the governor's going to announce the $150 regasification of the plant, which is wonderful, but nobody in the audience knows that. And you can feel the excitement. There's a band outside, and they're playing, and there's snow everywhere, and Mayor Doltz has got it all cleaned up, and it's just tremendous excitement. There's hundreds, maybe 1,000. I'm not sure the number of people there. And the governor makes his announcement. Of course, we all talk and clap and applaud, and we're happy. But the whole feeling in the crowd was electric. It was exciting. You could feel it. You could feel the emotions of the community running high, that they finally got what they fought for a year and a half. And to me, that was compelling. And the reason I took a few minutes of your time tonight to discuss that is because I wanted to say to everybody that this was not Dave Wilkinson. This was not me alone. I did my part, like everybody that shared it on Facebook, tweeted it, wrote those emails, sent those letters, attended that rally, attended that PSC hearing, and hung in there in 85-degree weather, showed up on the pier when it was 0, came out on a Sunday morning on a moment's notice and packed the Clarion. It was all you that made it responsible, or that made this possible for us to have what our community needed at the time. And my point being is, if we all work together, regardless of our personal beliefs, the limits that Chautauqua County can rise to can be unmeasurable. That's what we need to focus on. That's the lesson that we need to take away from this accomplishment, from this exercise, and how really, truly, if we work together, democracy can work for us. So thank you once again. I'll accept the award on behalf of everybody that stroked a pen, that stood up and did the right thing when we needed you most. Thank you.